lift my book higher. Am I reading my book as I'm talking to you, or what am I doing?
So what kind of book you love to read?
Well, over the years, different times, different interests. I like mysteries. I like travel stories. I like stories about people who are doing difficult things and finding themselves in the process. Lots of different
It's
things.
pretty wide range.
Wide range, depends on what mood I'm in.
Có thể chia sẻ về nội dung cuốn sách bạn đang đọc không ạ?
And you tell a little bit about the book that you're reading, the content of the book.
Well, this particular one, which I read some years ago and I'm reading again, is about a woman who, when she was a teenager, she wanted to be very, very close to God, and so she decided to become a Catholic nun. And she had a really difficult time. It turns out that life in a convent is extremely strict and just it's almost like a cult. It was so difficult, and it stressed her out so much. Finally, after 7 years, she left, and she was finished with religion, finished with God, and it turned out she also had seizures, and they didn't know what it was, and she would faint, or she'd have small seizures, and they didn't recognize it as that, and they said, oh, she was just being dramatic. And so she never saw a neurologist for years and years and years, and she thought she was going crazy. And so they sent her to a psychiatrist, and she'd tell him about these weird experiences, and he said she was just being dramatic. And so it was many years before she actually got properly diagnosed and felt like she could have a future. And then she was, over the years was trying to find her way back to a meaningful life. And so as it turns out, over many years, she ends up having new views about God, about religion, and she ended up writing a lot of books, and some of them, this is Karen Armstrong, but approaching religion from a scholarly point of view, and totally turning around, and in the end she finds God through scholarship instead of through this strict regime that she was put through. So it's interesting.
Và dành hàng giờ để đọc sách, có nhiều người sẽ nghĩ rằng là cái việc đấy nó cũng hơi boring ý. Bà thì sao? Bà tìm thấy cái điều gì hay ho trong cái sở thích này?
Too many people when reading book that to them it's kind of boring thing to do, but to you, it seems like you love to read. So what make you love to read books?
I have a lot of free time. I can't sew all the time. Right, and then as I said, it's a rediscovered passion of mine. When I was a teenager, I read a lot, and then, formal education, demanding formal education, and career and raising kids, I don't have time for that, and now I have time. And so now I'm doing things that I always wanted to do.
You have passion, and now you have time to do your passion.
Right, the same with the physical therapy. I'm doing the kind of therapy I always wanted to do. I'm not doing documentation and all this other stuff. I'm getting back and doing things that were my passion,
Yes.
that are my passion, that I got redirected from, kind of like her.
Thế còn về thể loại nhạc yêu thích của bà thì sao?
And what kind of music that you love to listen to?
Well, as you noticed, a lot of different musics, a lot of different.
Symphonies and countryside music.
Well, I was never interested in symphonies before, but on YouTube, when they're doing camera work like he does, and focusing in on the people that are featured at each particular spot, it's really interesting to see these people making their effort and really being passionate about what they're doing. And if you're sitting in the audience, you know, especially, you know, if your eyes aren't that great and you're sitting down there, I mean, you don't see all that, but to see people's faces and how they're acting and reacting to the music, I mean, it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really nice. I never appreciated it before, but being able to see the people that are doing it really is neat.
And every now and then you listen to countryside music like James Taylor's and different singers.
Yeah, and stuff from the 60s, and I mean, all kinds of different things, you know, and folk, we call it folk music,
Folk music.
right? It's just not exactly country music, it's kind of in an older tradition, but, you know, generally the ones we do, you know, have more modern lyrics.
Yeah.
Vậy để tự miêu tả về mình thì bà sẽ nói gì ạ?
Tự sao?
Tự nói về mình
Nói về
thì
bản
là
thân.
người như thế nào?
If you have a chance to say about yourself, like what kind of person
What did
are
you
you?
say? What did you want to say?
Big, tall American with a tall nose.
Ok, đến tiếp em sẽ hỏi nhá. Đổi chưa chắc sao không?
Now,
Chị ngồi đây nè.
today, so Yến will ask you, you look at Yến.
Yes, you can look at me.
Yes.
Yes.
So, Hui's going to be translating?
No, Yến will speak English also. Anh dịch không? Hay là em nói luôn?
Okay.
Em nói luôn được.
Okay,
Ông ngắn.
let Yến speak English today. Easier for him to focus.
Okay, you can share the favorite book do you love to read?
The books I love to read. Well, I have to start a little bit early. This is not going to be that long, I think, but I gotta just put a little behind it. I was born in 1949, and before that, my father was a Jehovah's Witness, and they don't go to war, and so he went to prison during World War II. He was in prison, and he got out in 1945. So he wasn't in for like stealing or anything. He was in for not going to the military, and so that was my. It was always a thing that, you know, it was always a thing. I wouldn't do that, you know, because I was raised as a witness until I was 21, and so they had all their literature and everything. And then after that, after I left home, I didn't go back to that. And somebody introduced me to the works of Carl Jung, and I read a lot of Carl Jung, and I still do. I got several books of his about him, or one of his people down by my bed. So I read those, and then I became interested in the Dharma, the Buddhist Dharma, and this book I was reading at the time. We went to see a movie called Groundhog Day, and it goes. I mean, I can't say that I could find exactly the spots, but it goes right along with the whole story in the movie Groundhog Day. So this guy goes to there's this thing in America called it's called Groundhog Day, and it's not like a national thing or something, but it's just a certain time of the month as it's coming spring, and in the movie he's a reporter, and he's sent to go there, and he goes there the day before, and the next morning he wakes up and it's Groundhog Day, and for the rest of the movie every morning when he wakes up, it's Groundhog Day. And so he finds out that he can do things. Okay. Well, anyway, this I was reading this book at the time that we saw the movie, and I was like, it was like, that was just like, it was like this book informed you of what was going on in the movie. So like he would wake up every morning and things would happen, and he was the only person that would remember it. And the next morning he would wake up and it was Groundhog Day, and he was the only person that would remember it. And so this went on and on until he was like, probably knew everybody in this little town. You know, because every morning he woke up and he could get to know somebody and participate with them. And then anyway, this book reminds me of it. That was the reason I wanted it.
Have you ever feel boring when living in Vietnam? Because some people think your life is always in your house and reading books and cooking. So have you ever feel boring when living in Vietnam?
No.
Why?
Because I have plenty of stuff to read, and there's movies, and I sort of keep up with some things on the internet, like okay, so no, I don't get bored.
And if you can describe about your wife in some word, what do you want to say?
What do I want to say? Well,
About your wife?
About her, I say she's a really good person, and I love her, and okay, we let each other do what, I mean, she reads what she wants to read, and I read what I want to read, that sort of thing. There's not like somebody is pushing it, or a certain thing.
He loves her because she always loving reading book.
No, that's not, she does other things. Like, she had the idea to come to Vietnam before the first, and I just thought that was a really great idea because, well, okay, like we adopted, and I never thought I would never go back here, but I didn't think I would either. I just thought, I didn't think either one. But at that time, okay, I was like ready to go. Okay, so, well, anyway, that was that.
Do you think your life in Vietnam is so interesting?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because I keep learning new stuff, although, I mean, I learned stuff about Vietnam, but I also learned stuff about things that I read, like the Jungian stuff, or the Dharma, or, you know, I did the Dharma thing for about 5 years, going to a group, but I haven't done anything like that since we left the U.S., but I still have my practice, some that I still do, so I'm not, okay, so, yeah, I'm not bored.
Yes, okay, thank you so much. Ok, xong rồi ạ. Anh ơi, xe chưa đến đúng không? Có kịp cho em làm một cảnh cuối cùng là hai ông bà đi qua một vài bức tranh của anh Hiền có ở nhà để em nối vào cái cảnh sang nhà anh Hiền ngày hôm qua mình quay đúng không ạ?
Okay.
Vẫn bộ quần áo nguyên như này thôi.